Hey everyone, Dr. Ace here. If you've been loading up on healthy foods but still find yourself dragging through the day, this video is for you. Let me start with a question. Have you ever eaten what you thought was a perfectly healthy meal, only to feel more tired afterwards? Well, you're not alone. In fact, I want to share the story of a couple, Paul and Georgia, who came to consult with me at my clinic. For years, they did everything right, from whole grain cereals in the morning to low-fat dinners at night, yet they were exhausted all the time. It got so bad that it began affecting their marriage. Imagine coming back from work too drained to talk or spend time together. That was Paul and Georgia's life. They were frustrated, worried, and desperate for answers.
Why is this so important? As a medical doctor, Dr. Ace sees so many people beating themselves up for feeling tired when they think they're eating healthy. But here's the thing, some foods masquerade as healthy but actually sap your energy. Paul and Georgia came to Dr. Ace's clinic hoping he could help solve the mystery behind their constant fatigue. With a few key changes he recommended in their everyday diet, their energy skyrocketed and their lives turned around. Ace is walking you through the top 5 healthy foods that were secretly draining Paul and Georgia's energy and probably zapping yours too. You'll see how, with his guidance, cutting them out or swapping them made all the difference.
Before we dive in, quick disclaimer. When I say healthy foods, I've got air quotes up. These are foods often marketed or thought to be healthy or at least harmless, but in reality they can backfire on your energy levels. Alright, let's get into it and keep an eye out for which of these might be hiding in your daily routine. Ready? Let's go. 1. White bread, pasta, and rice. The refined carb crash. Paul and Georgia love their pasta dinners. In their minds, a bowl of white pasta with a little olive oil and veggies was a wholesome meal, and white rice was a staple with their healthy stir-fries. Paul often grabbed a sandwich on white bread for lunch, figuring it was better than fast food. Carbs give energy, right? Well, when they told me about their typical meals, I immediately recognized a common problem. The kind of carbs in white bread, regular pasta, and white rice are so processed that they do more harm than good for your energy levels.
Let's break down why. A whole grain is a complete package fiber, vitamins, a germ, the nutrient-rich core. In white flour and white rice, that package has been stripped down. The fibrous bran and the germ are removed during processing, which means most of the fiber and a lot of the nutrients are gone. So, when Paul and Georgia polished off a big plate of white spaghetti or a couple slices of white toast, those refined carbs hit their system fast. With little fiber to slow things down, their blood sugar spiked and then crashed, taking their energy down with it. Every evening after a pasta dinner, they'd end up sprawled on the couch, fighting to keep their eyes open. Sound familiar? This is a common trap.
When I explained this in the clinic, it was a light bulb moment for them. Those empty carbs were cheating them out of B vitamins and other nutrients their bodies needed for real energy. I advised them to swap out white bread and rice for whole grain alternatives. So, they switched to whole grain bread for sandwiches, brown rice or quinoa instead of white rice, and whole wheat or legume-based pasta in place of the regular stuff. And guess what? Within days, they noticed they no longer felt like napping immediately after meals. No more 3 p.m. zombie at work for Paul, and no more dinner-induced drowsiness for either of them. The extra fiber in those whole grains gave them a steadier blood sugar and more sustained energy. Plus, they were finally getting those B vitamins and nutrients that had been missing. It was like someone slowly turned their body's power dial from low to high, but we weren't done yet. Quick tip, if you're in the same boat, try swapping white bread for whole grain or sourdough, white rice for brown rice or quinoa, and regular pasta for whole wheat or bean-based pasta. These small changes can keep your energy more steady through the day. With their refined carb-heavy dinners and lunches sorted out, Paul and Georgia stopped crashing so hard in the evenings. But their mornings were still rough. Why? Let's move to the next energy-draining food on our list lurking right in their breakfast bowl.
Science check. When you remove the fiber and germ, you're left with a rapidly absorbed starch that spikes your blood sugar, then drops it. And here's another thing, whole grains aren't just about energy. Ace notes, studies show eating more whole grains is linked with lower risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So this switch does double duty for your health and your stamina.
2. Healthy. Breakfasts loaded with added sugar, cereals, and yogurts. During our first consultation, Georgia described her go-to breakfast, a bowl of whole grain cereal or low-fat flavored yogurt with a sprinkle of granola. Paul loved his orange juice and a healthy cereal bar. This sounds like the breakfast of champions, right? In reality, it was the breakfast of sugar crashes. By mid-morning, both of them would feel drained and unfocused. The culprit, added sugar hiding in foods people often consider healthy. When I went through their diet history, I showed them just how much sugar was in some healthy cereals, nearly 50% sugar by weight. With very little fiber or protein, these breakfasts sent their blood glucose on a roller coaster, a quick spike followed by a steep crash. That's why Paul would feel a burst of energy right after his cereal bar, only to hit the wall an hour or two later.
And it's not just cereals. Flavored yogurts seem healthy, but many have tons of added sugar, sometimes more than a soda. Sweetened granola can add another heap. Together, her yogurt granola parfait packed as much sugar as a candy bar, creating an insulin spike and then an energy nosedive. No wonder she felt wiped out by mid-morning. Plus, sugar is sneaky. After the crash, your body often starts craving more sugar to bring your energy back up. As Dr. Ace explained to Paul and Georgia, it's a vicious cycle that further drains your reserves.
I explained to Paul and Georgia that the best way out was to focus on high-fiber, high-protein breakfasts and cut the added sugar. I advised Paul to ditch the sugary cereal and try oatmeal topped with berries and nuts or eggs with a piece of whole grain toast. For Georgia, I recommended plain Greek yogurt, high in protein, zero added sugar, sweetened with fresh fruit and a few drops of honey or a sprinkle of cinnamon. We also talked about skipping juice and enjoying whole fruit or just water and coffee or tea. The results? They felt steady and alert straight until lunch. If you're a cereal lover, look for options with low sugar and at least 4 to 5 grams of fiber per serving, or try overnight oats. And if you love yogurt, go for unsweetened and add your own fruit. Your energy levels will thank you. After a few weeks of these changes, Paul and Georgia noticed a new, sustained morning energy, but there was still one hidden culprit left in their evenings.
Fun fact, added sugar now makes up about 13% of the average American's daily calories. No wonder people crash. Cereals, bars, and flavored yogurts can quietly sabotage your energy and your health, especially if you're eating them every day.
3. Alcohol, the nightcap that steals your rest. During a follow-up, Paul and Georgia mentioned that they both enjoyed a drink in the evening. Paul liked a beer with dinner, and Georgia preferred a glass of wine to wind down. They truly believed the little nightcap was harmless, maybe even helpful for sleep. But after hearing how often they felt groggy in the morning, I explained that alcohol, even in modest amounts, can steal the deep, restorative sleep we all need. I advised them to limit alcohol to special occasions or weekends, and even then, to stick to the health guidelines, no more than 1 standard drink per day for women and 2 for men, and to have that drink earlier in the evening. This adjustment was key. Within a couple of weeks, they were waking up before their alarms, feeling genuinely rested, and noticing fewer little arguments and more quality time together. Georgia's morning fog finally lifted, and Paul found he had more patience and better focus all day. Their evening walk replaced the evening wine, giving them a healthier way to unwind.
Only large amounts of alcohol consistently drain energy this way. The official recommendation? No more than 1 standard drink per day for women, 2 for men. And yes, a standard drink is smaller than you think. Just 5 ounces of wine or 12 ounces of beer. As Dr. Toctor, Ace always warns his patients, alcohol shortens deep sleep and increases nighttime awakenings, reducing sleep quality for up to 24 hours.
So if you rely on a glass of something to fall asleep, be aware it might be why you're tired the next day. Try limiting alcohol to 1 small drink or switching to a calming herbal tea. Your sleep and energy will improve in no time. By now, Paul and Georgia had tackled the obvious diet issues. Refined carbs, sugar, and alcohol were all dialed down. Yet, there was still one everyday habit we needed to address, one that many of us, including me, absolutely love: coffee. 4. Coffee, when your pick-me-up lets you down. During our sessions, it became clear both Paul and Georgia were leaning heavily on coffee, sometimes 3 to 4 cups each day, especially to combat their afternoon slumps. At first, those coffees seemed like lifesavers, but over time, the magic faded. I explained how your body builds up a tolerance to caffeine, and how too much caffeine, especially after lunch, could be sabotaging their sleep, making the next day's fatigue even worse.
Caffeine alert. The recommended maximum is around 4 cups of coffee per day, about 400 milligrams of caffeine. More than that, or drinking caffeine late in the day, can impact your sleep for up to 24 hours. That afternoon, pick me up. According to Dr. Ace, it might be costing you tomorrow's energy.
I advised them to cut back to 1 to 2 cups a day and to avoid any caffeine after 2 p.m. Georgia swapped her late afternoon coffee for herbal tea, and Paul took a short walk for fresh air when the slump hit. The first week was tough. They experienced some headaches and cravings. Caffeine withdrawal is real, but they pushed through together. Within about 10 days, Georgia felt more energized in the mornings with just 1 cup than she ever did with 4. Paul noticed that limiting coffee made him drink more water and rely on healthier snacks to get through the day. Because they weren't over-caffeinating, their morning cup finally gave them the true focus boost they remembered. By relying on real rest and proper nutrition instead of endless caffeine, they broke the fatigue cycle. If you love coffee too, you don't have to quit. Just be smart about it. Stick to no more than 4 cups a day and stop drinking it after lunch. The difference for your sleep and energy will amaze you.
Caffeine withdrawal can cause headaches, fatigue, and mood changes for 4 to 8 days, but the benefits of less caffeine and better sleep last much longer. Dr. Ace reminds us that science shows less is more when it comes to your coffee routine.
At this point, Paul and Georgia had made 4 major changes, and the impact was huge. They felt human again. But there was one more energy booster they occasionally relied on, especially in the most exhausting moments, that we needed to address. This one is a bit obvious but worth mentioning because so many people fall for it when they're desperate for energy. Enter the world of energy drinks. 5. Energy drinks, short-term high, long-term low. When Paul first described his daily fatigue, he admitted to grabbing a can of energy drink nearly every afternoon. Georgia occasionally used a natural energy shot before the gym. I explained that these drinks are mostly caffeine and sugar cocktails in flashy cans, and while they may give a short-term boost, the crash afterward is brutal.
A single can of some popular energy drinks can contain as much as 10 teaspoons of sugar and the caffeine of 2 or more cups of coffee. The result? A blood sugar spike, then a crash, plus jitteriness, anxiety, and trouble sleeping. Worse, frequent use means you build up tolerance and need even more to feel the same effect. That's why Dr. Ace always recommends skipping the energy drinks entirely.
I advised Paul and Georgia to cut out energy drinks completely. The first week off was rough for Paul. He described himself as a zombie around 3 p.m. But he stuck to my advice. Lots of water, a protein-rich snack in the afternoon, and if he could, a 5-minute walk outside. Georgia switched to green tea in the afternoon. Within a few weeks, their afternoon crashes became milder, then vanished. With their overall diet and sleep so improved, they found they no longer needed any artificial boosts. If you rely on energy drinks, try replacing them with water, green tea, or a small piece of dark chocolate if you need a treat. Even better, look for the root cause of your fatigue. Often, it's what you're eating and how you're resting.
Here's a wake-up call. Some energy shots have as much caffeine as 4 cups of coffee in one tiny bottle. The safe daily limit is about 400 milligrams. Going above that can cause real harm, especially if you're stacking energy drinks on top of coffee or tea. Ace wants you to skip the crash. Choose steady energy instead.
I thank you very much for watching this journey of Paul's and Georgia's life and how they changed it. I hope you felt inspired and learned something with this video to help you change your life too. If you like this video, give it a like, leave a comment below. I like and reply all the comments, so feel free to share your story. I thank you very much for watching and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Remember, energy is everything. When you have steady energy, you move more, think more clearly, and you're more yourself. Don't let sneaky food steal that from you. Paul and Georgia reclaimed their energy, and you can do the same. If this helped you, smash that like button, drop a comment below with your story or questions, and subscribe for more science-backed health tips.